You know what time it is?
Yes, it's showtime, Jay.
Well, hey, man, you know what that means.
I believe that means it's time to get this thing rocking and rolling.
We'll hit the music because let's get this thing going, fella. Here we go. Let's do this.
All right, hello and welcome to the Game Plan. Our show is brought to you by Bringing the Heat Media and 4D Leaders. This show is dedicated to using sports to create positive change. So be ready to get inspired, uplifted, and empowered through thought-provoking conversations specific to the world of youth sports with some of the top minds in the game. I'm your co-host, Trevor Rosenthal, MLB All-Star and single-season save record holder for the St. Louis Cardinals, with Jason Holzer, co-founder of 4D Athletes and best-selling author. Jason, hey man, I've been running solo. It's good to see you today, back in the saddle. I've been out the last couple episodes on my own, which I think they were really good. We had Nick Clemens and Jacob Turner talked about some interesting topics, and for me, it was really cool to be with those guys. Jacob Turner gave a little bit of a hint into it, but you know, guys that when I met them compared to where we're at right now, a lot of life and a lot of change has happened in between that time. So it's good to see you. Good to have you back on the show. How's everything going? How's summer? Summer's kind of wrapping up. We're heading into fall. School's in full swing. How's your world, man?
Yeah, man. It was I got a chance to check out those episodes that you went solo with, and it was really insightful, man. And to your point, it is amazing how our priorities change. What we think is important in one phase of life changes. Now I see things from a different perspective and really focusing on more of what matters. And I think for me, what I've learned is as we move this summer, we're getting adjusted to a new place. We're rolling into fall here, a lot of fun things going on. And I'm just really enjoying the moments of man, my kids are only going to be this age for so long. And they're just at a really fun age right now. So really trying to capture the moments of, the ages that they're at, do fun things with them. And I saw recently that there's a cool video I saw where a guy was like, you know what? I never tell my kids, or I'm never too tired for my kids. And what I did was I flipped that and I said, you know what? I'm always going to have enough energy for my kids, regardless of what happened throughout the day. Whenever I get home, if my kids ask me to do something, I'm like, yes, I want to do that right now. Yes, let's do it. Before I get in oh, I'm tired, or I could use. And so that's one thing I've been really focused on is if my kids want to do something, I'm like, yeah, let's go do it. Let's have fun with it. So what about yourself, man? How's the things going with you? I know you had a quick trip to St. Louis, Kansas City here across Missouri. So what about yourself in your world, Trev?
Yeah, things are good. I'm in the same boat as you, man. It's as you mature, you realize time goes by too fast, and continuing to take advantage of the time I have with my kids, especially when they're still in the home, and I still have the opportunity to see them as more than I will most likely in the future. That's been something for me, and in what I've really enjoyed the most. My oldest is 11, my second is 9, my youngest is 6. And just seeing how they change, it's almost like every day. My 6-year-old walked in today, and I swear she has a completely different looking face. It's like her teeth have grown more or something. They're just changing every day. It's so fast. And, it's really inspired me, like you mentioned, spending time with them, but also on the same hand of, there's no better time than the present, right? To do that thing, to say what you wanted to accomplish, or make that little bit of change that's going to make your life better. So having kids has really put that into perspective, because you can see every single day how fast time is going by. And so it's okay, there's a sense of urgency. You got to make the most, you got to make every day count, and getting up early, staying late, making yourself available, telling yourself I have the energy, even though physically you may feel like you don't, is very important. So
Absolutely,
everything's good, man. We like you mentioned, I was traveling around a little bit this past week. Went to a really cool event in Columbia, Missouri, met some awesome people, and then spent some time in Kansas City with my family. Talk about family and being a parent. Well, I got to enjoy being a kid and being around my parents and my grandparents. So thankful for that time that I was able to spend with them.
Yeah, that's great, man. Well, like you said, it's one thing I've learned recently too is I'm trying to work on with my kids and my wife is like connect to get respect. And I think, if we want our kids to listen to us more, if we want our people to like hear us out more, I think the importance of respecting what they're saying, connecting with them, and really doing the things that will really foster positive relationships. So, something that came to mind recently was connect to get respect, and I think that's something that has been on my mind recently. But who we got? Who we got on the shout out today?
Yeah. Well, today our shout out goes to Tomahawk Shades. We've talked about them before, and Jason and I are big fans, but they have a great deal going on right now where you get 50% cash back on your first order. They have any style to fit your lifestyle, so be sure to check them out at tomahawkshades.com and rock the tomahawk. All right, Jason, so building upon connect to get respect. I love that, by the way. And it's so true. No one wants to listen to somebody that's rude and doesn't show the time of appreciation for whoever you're working with. So let's build upon that and let's bring our guest in today and let's do some connecting.
Yeah. We got a guy that is going to be a real treat for us today. He's a man that bleeds gold and blue from the St. Pius community. He's the president of the Gators baseball program here in the North Kansas City area. He's also assistant football coach at Pius, molding the next generation of gridiron athletes. Man, he's and great people too. He graduated from Pius in 2000. Standout athlete at Baker University. We got Coach James Reyes on the show today. James, great to have you here. Thank you for coming on, chatting with us about sports, character, and the difference it can make, man. So as a warrior joining the show, we're excited to have you on, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Trevor. Appreciate you having me on. And man, I'm gonna have to use that, Jason. Connect to get respect. I mean, that's good stuff. I'm gonna maybe have to use that one today. Build those relationships first, and all of a sudden you get some of the respect you're looking for. I love it.
Jason's the best at these catchphrases and these like mantras that you can get stuck in your brain. Literally the best. No one better.
It really is.
Thanks,
man.
I appreciate that.
It's gonna be in my mind today, so we'll see if we can use that one. I appreciate that.
Hey,
Yeah.
it's a good one. So James, thank you so much for joining us today. And as a person who's involved in youth sports and involved in the community, and you're a dad, you're a coach, you're seeing a lot of these things hand on, and you're just as passionate about this next generation. We say it all the time, and you mentioned it, but the next generation is our future, and just like the previous generation before ours poured into us, it's our job to set the example and pour back in to the youth today. And so, thanks for joining us. And we want to jump right into this first question. And, you've worked with athletes across a wide range of ages. So our question is, at what age do you think it's most crucial for coaches to focus on character development alongside athletic skills? And what are some specific strategies you use to instill those values in your players?
Oh, it's a great question. I mean, I was thinking about this because it it really is kind of something that we do at St. Pius, and I've done with the Gators, is like really instill like core values, something that they can relate to at an early age. Obviously when they're first getting started, you just want them to have fun, right? You just want them to enjoy what they're doing, 5, 6 years old, playing soccer, playing baseball, just to find the love and, as a kid, finding that passion for the game. And then once they get a little bit older and they start understanding, some principles, the principles we use at St. Pius is love, faith, family, champions. And honestly, to the question, I would say, as soon as they're ready to have conversations about love as a virtue, not as a feeling, and what that means to love your teammates, and we're blessed. I'm blessed to be part of a community where I can also teach the teachings of Jesus and the ultimate champion. And so I would say I probably started with our kids probably around 8, 9 years old. And I felt like they had the the maturity and understanding of understanding, oh, yes, it's have fun, but then there's some purpose behind this, right? What is, obviously we want to play and have fun, and everybody talks about that, and there's also then they start getting a little competitive, and there's also the aspect of winning and handling winning and losing. And so once you start understanding those concepts and doing that, I mean, that's probably around the age where I started really instilling some of those, I don't even want to call them tactics, but I would say more values and what they're doing, and creating some purpose would be in that 9, 10-year-old. I'd say, yeah, 8, 9, 10 years old range is when we started instituting some of these core values that I was talking through.
Yeah, I like that. You kind of mentioned the purpose aspect to it, and I think this is so important, and it's grown for me as well. Especially as a professional athlete, I've had this professional athletic career, but for all of us, whether a professional, amateur, like our athletic careers come to an end, and then there's life after that. And you mentioned it, but purpose. Like, what is the purpose? If your purpose and your identity is wrapped up in just the thing that you're doing, at some point that's going to let you down. And there has to be a driver behind that. And from what I've seen in my own life and with some excellent teammates, I mean, I played with guys that are, names that will be talked about for a long time, names that will be remembered in the record books for a long time, and specifically in professional baseball. But all of these guys, I believe what made them so great was that purpose. There was this underlying drive that kept them going, even when challenges, even when adversity hit them. So I agree. I mean, it's never really too early, right? Like, sure, there's that 8, 9, 10-year-old age range where you can begin to communicate and begin to put a definition to some of these words. But like you mentioned, in your school system and the freedom that you guys have to build this character development, it's more like these kids are getting exposed to it by example long before they hear the terms and they hear the definition that goes along with it. So are there any, when you guys sit down and whether you're game planning for the next week or game planning for the next season, like, what do those conversations looks like? Is it just like a kind of like a reminder, like, hey, this is what we're doing, this is the schedule for the practice, but hey, just as a gentle reminder, like, what's most important here is these kids and how we're pouring into them?
100%. No, I mean, we have our foundation is our values, so that's kind of our forefront of our mind. And I guess just to go into that a little bit, it's love, faith, family, champions. And that is actually something that we talked about with the kids, and this is at the high school level with our football team. And they helped. I remember, let's say 5 years ago, when Anthony Simonis took over as head coach, I mean, we talked about what are our values, like what are we about, and that senior class helped create the value system. And it was just faith, family, champions, and then we added this last year. We added love. I mean, we thought that was something that was missing. Love as a virtue and not as a feeling, because generally, when you talk about love, it's like, what is that? And it really, when I actually looked at the definition, it's really for caring for somebody else, obviously loving yourself, but just that sense of care for people, and that can care for yourself. And then we have faith, which is faith in your teammates and building that trust once you create that love aspect. But obviously faith in the Lord and in Jesus Christ, our Savior, and always having that in the forefront in your mind. And so really bringing that, and that was kind of the first time that we really, we were always part of a Catholic school, but we never really, football was football, but then, you go to school, you go to church, and that's where that was. But no, we've really brought that into the playing field, and, it's praying before the games. And, now some of our seniors have started to do Bible studies, and they even put it on TikTok now. I mean, where it's come in the last 4 years, it's really astonishing. And then, we do all these things, and then slowly we become a family. We talk about that a lot, where it's not just a team. I mean, once you're in our family, it's for life, right? I mean, if any of these kids called me for anything, I'm going to be there for them. And then hopefully they would want to do that for each other, right? Once they get done with school. And then champions, and I know it's something we'll talk about, but it's like, it's not about winning championships. It's not about winning. It's about being a champion. It's about making your bed. It's about brushing your teeth. It's about doing all these little things, right, that ultimately help you, do the big things right, is what we say. And then, once we always say it, but once you focus on all these things, the winning just kind of takes care of itself. I mean, it's really kind of astonishing when you can kind of just see, like, when you stop focusing on that aspect and you focus on all these things that help you be a champion, then it kind of just works its way out, because now the stress is gone, the anxiety about all that stuff is gone, and it's really just kind of fun to think. But just to hit on your question real quick, Trevor, like what we do week to week, is we had like a word of the week. Like last week it was commitment, and we taught, and like we had one coach. We have a fairly big coaching staff, and he would come up every day and talk about commitment, either how it relates to him or something that he's read. And the week before that it was about grit. The week before that it was about toughness, discipline. So kind of instilling like these little, just how to, and you guys know, just little, how to take the whole pie, but just taking these little bits to help these young men grow, where it just doesn't feel like it's about the sport all the time. You're focusing on all these things to really mold them into men, because we say it too, like our goal is not to win a state championship, it's to help these kids get to heaven. I mean, honestly, we believe that. So anyway,
and that's no, that's what it's all about. I mean, and there's so much crossover. Like you said, like winning will take care of itself. And, when you're pursuing excellence in all areas of your life, there is a correlation to sport. And so many times, like you said, with the school, like we are a faith-based school, but previously, before 5 years ago, there was a disconnect. It was like, no, we did football, but when we got on the football field, it was football. It wasn't necessarily about these morals and values and talking about love. Like, how do you love a guy on the football field when you're trying to beat him? But good for you guys for, intertwining that in. And I mean, I'm a big believer. You cannot be excellent in one area of your life without being excellent in all areas of your life. And that translates 100% to sports. So I don't know, Jason, jump in on this conversation. What do you got for us?
Yeah, Coach Reyes, I've had a lot of conversations about, the win at all cost mentality, the pressures that are put on kids at sports at young ages. And, I think there's I'll say it. You want to foster that competitive nature that kids have. Like, yeah, it's okay to want to win, right? It's good, right? But then it becomes win if you have to need to win, right? If it becomes like part of your identity. So my question for you is, like, how do you balance that drive to win, right? And still nurture that, but at the same time fostering that respect, sportsmanship, resilience, piece of young athletes, like finding the little wins, even when you do maybe lose on the scoreboard, but helping athletes understand, like, hey, this is not who you are. It's what you do. It's not who you are. And how do you help mold that identity of them as a person more so than like a player?
It's probably the biggest challenge in sports, to be honest. But I heard something and I've been using it lately, and it seems to resonate. And it's a simple saying, but it just says, winning is important. It's just not the most important, right? Like it is something that every kid wants. Like they go to the game, right, and they play the sport, and they want to win, right? I mean, we all want to win. Everybody's a competitor. They want to win. If it's 6-year-old t-ball, the state championship in high school, you go to that game. Everybody wants, you play that game, you want to win. But the thing that I think that we've tried to balance, and it's not, and because that desire is always going to be there. But I think what I've learned is that it's just not the most important thing, and like resonate, and having the kids resonate with that. And that's kind of hard. I'd say that's a process. That's not something that, you can go in and just say that, and then like the next day they're going to be like, oh yeah, like Coach Reyes said, winning's not important. Like, no, I didn't say that, because
I didn't say that. Yeah.
Because they do, like, they take that, like, okay, but I've always tried to make a point to say that, because, like, man, there's so much stress on it, right? Like I was just thinking when I saw that question, I was thinking about it, and they're like, think about when somebody asks you, like, okay, Jason, how'd you guys, how'd your baseball game go? And what's your immediate response, right? You're like, oh, well, it was tied, 6-6. We won, but we ended up winning or losing. Or it's like, well, wait a minute. Like that's not the question I asked you. The question I asked you was, how would the thing go? And I've actually tried to do that more, even if like we win big or whatever. Like how'd the game go, Coach Reyes? Like, oh, we did pretty good. I mean, I thought our kids played really hard in the first half. They gave some good effort. We made a couple mistakes in the second half, and then we. But I thought overall, we played well with good effort, had a great attitude, and we really were good teammates. And they like look at me and they're like, okay, but I'd asked you how the game, like they're almost assuming like you're supposed to like tell them what the score is from the beginning, and I'm just like, but that's not what you asked me. You asked me how the game went. I just told you how the game went, And so I don't know. It's a like we're in a weird culture, right, where everybody like is like focused on that, and it's like I don't know. I've always tried to say yes. Okay, I get it. That's it's why we're out here. Everybody feels good afterwards after a big win or whatever. But so it is. I'm not saying it's not important, but it's just okay. Did you love your teammates today? Did we grow in faith today? Did we become a closer family today? Did we have a great effort? Did we have a great attitude? Were you a good teammate? Like to me, those are all things that are more important than if you won that game. And I've told our kids this before, and I think slowly it starts resonating after a while, and then all of a sudden, when you got it is when they just don't play with any hesitation or worry. They just play and they just look like they're having fun, and then they play better anyway. And they usually, like I said, it takes care of itself at that point. But I don't know. It's just we're in a strange culture when it comes to that kind of stuff.
And I love the acronym of WIN that I saw recently from a sports psychologist.
The acronyms. Here it is.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. Need some notes.
What's important now, right? That's the win. And what's important now might be giving a kid a listening ear. It might be lifting a teammate up after making a mistake. And so like writing down these wins, like you may have lost on the scoreboard, but hey, we had 5 wins today because James picked up Trevor whenever he threw that interception. Or, after you got a big hit to score a run, maybe we still lost 5-4, but we were right there, right? We kept going. So that grit, that gutsiness, that was the win today. And like to your point about being competitive, my 5-year-old, man, first thing he does on his Alexa in the morning when he wakes up is like, hey, what was the Chiefs score last night? Or hey, what was the score of the Guardians game? The most random scores. He just wants to know who wins. And so, like, you want to foster that nurture of them, right? Or that nature of them, and you want to nurture that. But you also like, okay, man, like, what's the other wins besides the scoreboard? Because there's a lot more than just that too, right? So
it kind of like bleeds over into everyday life too, outside of sports. Like, there's so many times when I meet somebody, or when somebody meets me and then you ask like, hey, like, tell me about yourself. Well, what's the first thing you start telling about yourself? It's like, what you do for work. It's like, no, like, I know that's what you do for work, but like, tell me about yourself and, dig a little bit deeper beneath the surface. Like, how did the game go other than just the score? Like, tell me more about it. Just because the scoreboard was, you were on the wrong side of the score doesn't mean that's all the story that there is to it. It could have been an outstanding game. Like Jason said, there could have been some wins, even though overall it was a loss. Are there any, for me, like, that's kind of been a mindset shift as I've gotten older and just wanting to like cultivate like solid, good relationships beyond what you do for work and, what's your job title in your professional life. Is there anything strategic, James, that you've done in the coaching world where you're prioritizing the character development over winning?
Yeah, no, as you were saying that, Trevor, I was just thinking about it. Like, started to change my questioning, like, just to that point, like, okay, like, what do you do? Like, I've actually started asking, it kind of sounds strange, but I've done it a few times where it's just like, what's your passion? Like, what are you passionate about? Like, what like gets you, what makes you wake up in the morning and you're like, just like you were talking about purpose at the beginning. It's like, what gets you motivated? Like, I've started actually, if we're at a random gala or someplace and I just meet someone for the first time, and you always get a sense on how someone's feeling, but I've actually started asking that question, and it's interesting just like you said, just in life to see some people's response. Like like obviously I think all of us, we have a passion for sport and youth sports. I also have a, special place in my heart for like special education and progressing that into schools, and that's another passion of mine. So I've tried to, ask that question more just because, I mean, and then it applies to youth sports, it applies to everything, but just like, because once you get that answer, like I think, I don't know, it just feels like, because everybody is, we're just in a world of a little bit of stress. Everybody has a little stress. Everybody has a little worry. It's like once you get them starting to talk about their passions of what they do, I mean, man, it feels like that stress just kind of lifts off. At least in conversations I've had, and and then all of a sudden, boom, gets them start to think, and then who knows? Maybe that could change. At the end of the day, I mean, that's one of my goals is help this world be better and help people find their passion and build in what they do every day. I mean, that's I think that's kind of as human beings, that's a desire we all have, right?
Yeah. In our class at St. Teresa that I teach as a character development piece, and I always tell the kids, I was like, hey, do you want grown-ups to take you seriously? Like not like you're a kid, have fun, but do you want to be taken seriously? And so we talk about like introducing people, how you introduce yourself. And I was like, ask a grown-up this question and see what the response is. And I go, ask him, hey, what are you interested in right now? And see like, oh, like, you're gonna be an impressive kid if you go up to an adult, you look in the eye, you shake their hand, and say, hey, what are you interested in right now? And they're gonna look like you have 5 heads because they probably have never been asked that question before. And so it's one of those things like you mentioned, like, yeah, everybody know what you do, okay, cool, but no, like, what are you really interested? Like, what is it, something that could really like light a fire underneath you and get you up and get you going, So, anyways, that's something fun I've been doing with kids, and they're like, really, that works? I was like, well, try it out, see what you think. So
I can see my kids doing that at bedtime just to like get a few extra minutes.
Oh yeah, stall,
I'm interested
right?
in you getting to bed right now.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
that's always the goal.
But
right?
That's right, absolutely, Coach. But real quick too, like beyond the playing field, like how do you encourage your athletes to apply these lessons, like in school, in social life, with their families, what they do in the future? How do you help them understand that it is everything is connected. Like what you do everywhere makes a difference, and the things that you're teaching on the football field, on the baseball field, have the same application they do anywhere else in life.
Oh, it's another good question. I mean, something that we've done or that we do now is we call it Warrior Wednesday. So on Warrior Wednesday, we have a little huddle chat and has the whole team on it, and you have to do something for somebody else, either at school or at home, or actually I do it with the 6th graders, and we do it with the high school kids, where basically have to say something that they do for somebody else, where they're not being asked to do it. So it could be anything, right? It could be like we have things where, I helped so-and-so with their math homework, or I helped Mr. so-and-so, clean up his class when he wasn't asking us to. So we try to do things like that to, because it is, I mean, it's, like you were saying, I mean, we want these values just not to be, you just don't show love. You're just not a great teammate on the playing field, right? But you're doing these things in every aspects of your life. And so what our hope is that, that we do these things to create habits, right? I mean, once you can do things a couple times, then that's just something that, that's how we say, make your bed, brush your teeth. They're thinking about the team because they know that's a habit that then forms. And, I've seen something where if you do, you want to change the world, you make your bed, you brush your teeth because it creates those good habits. So that's something that we've done is do that. And something else I've done is I probably get, this is where I am, but we have a Northland Warrior team of, they all go to different schools. It's a parochial league where, they're all going to different places. But one of our goals is to, something that we do is I emailed all the principals. I emailed them all and I said, hey, here's a list of everybody on our team. Here's what our values are. Anything good or bad, can you just let me know, because I want to make sure that, I can help you, right, in the classroom and in your building to make sure that we're upholding these core values, um, as part of as part of what they are, because I want to know who they are even outside that. So that's something I've done, and it's actually when I told the kids that I was doing that, and I've done that, and actually I've gotten a couple responses as of the last couple weeks. Some things good, some things not so good. But it kind of comes as a team, and it's actually worked out pretty well. Where I think now they are thinking about it is more than just football. I mean, okay, coaches he cares that I'm good in class, good in our school, and good in our community, and then all of a sudden comes a good high schooler, good adult. I mean, honestly, that's one of our goals. So anyway, those are just some things that I've done to kind of reiterate, being a better young man, better person outside the playing field.
Yeah. And so kind of want to shift gears a little bit and, talk about how important coaches are. For me, I know coaches are extremely important because as players, like who's first of all going to teach us, but then really like they are the support for the players. There's no one else supporting players like a coach does. And I didn't always understand this. For example, I had some really great coaches in my playing career, and one of them that stood out to some extent in some really specific qualities that he demonstrated was Mark McGwire. So when I first got into the major leagues, you probably recognize the name Mark McGwire. He set home run records. He was a staple, an iconic player for his generation, and he was the hitting coach in St. Louis when I got called up to the big leagues for the first time. And this guy was incredible. I mean, he was always excited every time he saw me, and I loved it. Like, it was great. I'm like, man, I watched you play growing up, and you were always a guy that I enjoyed to see, and you were iconic. You were an idol to some extent, and he was so supportive of the players, and he was more excited for the players that he was coaching than he was in his own career. And it was hard for me to wrap my mind around it. Like, how is this guy so humble and so invested into what he's doing now? Like, he's had a great career. Like, he is the Hall of Fame player. And that always stood out to me. And I'm beginning to understand it more now as I've gotten outside of the game. And it's this like desire, we talked about it early on, of building up the next generation. It's this desire to give back, because I'm sure somebody did the same thing for him. And so like those certain qualities like always stood out to me. And now they not only helped me as a player, I mean, gosh, how do you not get pumped up coming off the field and Mark McGwire's on the top step giving you high five? Like, let's go. Like, this is a childhood dream. But I'm wondering, like, we talked about your football career. Was there any point in your playing career where a coach in how they were handling your development that stood out and you're like, you know what, one day I want to coach? Or was it afterwards? Was there a point in time where you had identified the qualities of what it took to be a great coach?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's probably three that come to mind for sure. I mean, probably early on, our head coach, Rick Byers, he was. I mean, I just saw him just a couple weeks ago. He was head coach at St. Pius for many years. And something I remember that he really taught me early on, and a word that I could still hear him say is the word discipline. And discipline meaning, holding yourself accountable. And I just remember the way that he would say these words, and the way that everybody, I remember the feeling I felt playing for him. Like, he run through a brick wall for this guy, like he had that sense of leadership, and that sense of, man, I would do anything to help this team and do anything to help us be successful. So he was definitely probably the first coach, and really got me interested. He actually gave me the first coaching job that I had at St. Pius when I came back after I went to Baker for a while. And honestly instilled the discipline in me and at the early age. And then I would say, I went to Baker, had a D lineman coach. I played defensive end there. His name was Brian Boyle. And so, something I remember about him is just like, And this is the thing, right? When you go through playing and coaching, man, you just pick up little things. Like he was probably the most enthusiastic guy that I've ever met. Like he would like I don't know if you know D-line coaches and D-line in general, they're a little bit different breed. We're a little bit I don't know, like you'll I don't know. He instilled this enthusiasm. I mean, you'll see me before Pius games. I'm like you ever do like that arm thing where you go over the shoulder? I think Mark McGuire actually used to go boom, and just
Oh
getting
yeah.
the kids. So that's stuff like that. Like I do that to actually I hurt my shoulder the other day. I'm getting a little old, but but I did that. I do that to all of our guys, and that's something that Coach Boyle did, instilled in me was just, man, he just loved the game. He was hustling everywhere. He was running to the drills. I mean, we took pride in being the hardest working group out on the field, and so, he was definitely that. And then I guess, I can't not give love to Coach Anthony Simone, the most recently. I mean, he's instilled the faith in me that I haven't, at least he started that part of that, and that lens of bringing, Jesus and faith in the Lord and our Savior. I've started reading the Bible lately and letting him speak to me. And man, it's like honestly, it's, all these, like to Coach Byers, to Coach Boyle, to now Coach Anthony Simone. I'm just feel so blessed that I've had the opportunity to coach with and coach under some of these guys, because I've like, it's helped me as a man. Like it's helped me become a better dad. It's helped me be a better husband. It's helped me do all these things. And it's really the beauty about sports, man. It's just like, wow. It's like all these things. Like if I didn't have sports, like I wouldn't be who I am, and it's just, I just feel thankful and honestly to be, just be part of it.
That's the best thing about sports is like the camaraderie, the teammates. Like all the guys that I played with who are retired, it's like, yeah, like you miss when the lights come on, but like you really miss the relationships. Like you miss going into battle with your brothers and doing life together and, lifting each other up. Like it's contagious when one guy's bringing the energy and one guy's, doing things and making himself better. You're like, okay, I want some of that. Like, give me some of that. So good for you, man.
Yeah, honestly.
James,
go ahead, Jason.
Oh, go ahead.
No,
I was just saying, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah.
But go ahead and finish what your thought was.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, honestly, that's the thing that I'll miss the most. Like I was just thinking about the other day, we have some seniors that are going to graduate. We might win the state championship. And I'm like, man, I'm just like going to be sad. Like, even if we win it, like, I'm not going to be able to coach them anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead, James.
No, I would say it was great having you on the show today, James. Appreciate all the insights, the wisdom, the things that you've learned from other people as well, the shared wisdom too, and your vulnerability, sharing about like reconnecting your faith, and then I think and sharing like what sports is really meant about. So where can people learn more about the Pius program, the Gators program, things you're involved in, the Warriors program? And how can people connect with you?
Well, we have a lot of different ways. So, I mean, we have a SPS Athletics website. We're posting about all those things all the time. We were pretty active on Facebook and Instagram. I helped do a lot of that stuff for the high school. We on the Gator side, we have we go all the way from 6U down to all the way to high school, 15U. We have KC Gators. .com at kcgatorsbaseball.com. Get to us on the website, contact us there, and then same with Northland Catholic Warriors. I mean, we got a Facebook group, we got a website as well. So I mean, honestly, I'm anytime anybody wants to talk youth sports or anything, I'm always more than willing to just talk about it, because I mean I don't and really it's all you coaches out there. I mean, you guys are, I would say, the most important people in some of these kids' lives. I mean, besides their parents, they're gonna, and probably I've even had parents come up to me and say, like, can you talk to so and so, like, because he just really he really just trusts you and appreciates I'm like, yeah, I could, and it's just like you don't really understand like how the influence you have on some of these kids when you're doing it. You're just like, this is just what I do. But I guess to all those coaches, just you're blessed, and just take that opportunity and just do the best for these kids, because they need it. So anyway,
That's funny. It's almost like you're like, my kids won't even listen to me. Why? Your kid wants my advice? Like, I can't even get my own kids to take my advice. But it is so
100%.
true. Coaches are important. Yeah. No.
Well, Trevor, man, great show as always. We got a lot of great guests coming up as well after this episode. Make sure you follow Trevor on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Follow Bringing the Heat as well, especially if you're a coach or parent, an athlete in youth sports. This is what we've geared this for, is to help make youth sports a place full of growth, of a great experience that you can have memories with for the rest of your life in a positive way.
And check out 4dathletes.com. Check out the resources for parents, coaches, and athletes. Follow 4D Athletes and Jason on social media as well. And yeah, we have a lot of dynamic content coming your way. And I'm going to steal Jason's acronym. I'm going to reiterate it. WIN. What is important now? So what's important now is that you connect with Jason and I. We really enjoy this topic, and we want to be your go-to destination for youth sports. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, whether it's a coach or a parent, that have questions. How do I maximize this opportunity that we call youth sports to impact not only our family's life, but most importantly, the next generation, and set them up for success in and outside of sports? So that being said, what's important now is that you connect with Jason and I. Let us know a topic that we can talk about in the future. And if you are thinking of somebody that would enjoy these conversations, please share us with all of those people. And we'll wrap up this episode. And if you liked it, please give us 5 stars and leave a review. Thanks for tuning into the Game Plan, and we will see you next time. Sweet. Good one.